Interpretation. This is a really big issue, and later on I'm going to go through some cases that will show you how crucial getting the correct interpretation is. What should it be looking at? What are the questions? One of the questions is, well, when was it used, or when did that use cease? Because we do have these sleeping hares, we do have slow-growing hairs, then if that happens, there's a potential that that could be misinterpreted as a drug being used after a specified date. Because what you've got to remember is you've incorporated that drug, but it didn't move up the shaft at that average rate. And if you blanketly stick to 1 centimetre a month and the person had a growth rate of 0.7, then it's going to make it appear that they used it after the date that they may have said they'd ceased using the drug. If their hair's fast growing, then you can have the opposite. You could be asked to look at 3 months, so 3 centimetres analysed, but it could be that the time of interest was within that 3-month period, but because they've had 4 months, they've got very fast growing hair, 2.2 centimetres, you've missed it. It was in the area further down the shaft. All of those have to be considered. Contamination. I've already gone through the environmental contamination, but there's also contamination with the drugs themselves. Generally, drug users aren't the tidiest of people. They're not the most hygienic of people. You can have drugs on the hair, they then touch their hair, they touch the hair of their children. That can cause contamination of the hair. There are procedures that can be employed within a lab to investigate that and to remove that, but that is an important thing, that the lab has to consider that and does have to take steps to avoid that being an issue in their analytical results. There is the contamination with sweat and sebum, and again, there are, I think, processes that can be in place at a laboratory that can counter for those and take them into consideration in the end result. And intrauterine exposure was something I discussed earlier on if we're talking about very young children. How can contamination be excluded? I've already said about the washing at the lab itself. In terms of the analytical results at the end of it, then metabolites can be used. Metabolites are the breakdown products of drugs that are formed within the body. So the presence of a metabolite would show that that drug has gone through the body. So if that's in the hair, this wasn't surface contamination, it was something that went through the body. But you've also got to consider that there might be other mechanisms that could generate that metabolite. Some processes employed at a laboratory can cause the drug to break down to one of these metabolites. So they have to be very careful in how they do the analysis. Also, some chemical treatments can cause those changes too. In assessing that possibility, the lab or the person interpreting it should then consider the ratio of the parent drug to those metabolites to see, well, does that look to be in accord with what you would expect from a real ingestion, or could it be that there's been some bias because of chemical treatment or because of a laboratory procedure? Those chemical treatments, well, I've already said they can remove drugs, but those chemical treatments can also cause that conversion. One drug, for instance, cocaine, can be broken down by benzylecgonine, by some dyes and some bleaches. So again, those factors need to be considered and not just say, well, benzylecgonine, which is the body breakdown product of cocaine, is there, therefore this drug went through the body, because there could be alternative explanations for that.